Okie dokie. This comment popped up on one of my shorts about this thing here, and this is the Power Kitty V10. I featured it in one of my more recent videos, I think it was my last video, and they asked if it comes with Pokemon Emerald. I'm about to show you that Emerald is only just the beginning. Okay, so this thing, it doesn't come with Emerald pre-installed. It does come with a micro SD card that's preloaded with a heaps of games, but Emerald isn't one of them. A lot of people think it has to do with a copyright between Nintendo and them not wanting to get sued. But as I said, Emerald is just the start. You might not know this, but there is a whole other world of fan-made Pokemon games that blow Emerald away. In the last few months, I've just finished 2 of them. I'm making my way through my 3rd fan-made Pokemon game, and it is insane what some people have come up with. I just wanted to go through some of the games that I've played now and how they differ to the mainline games. I've got some of my own gameplay footage on here, but I'll also be using footage from another YouTube channel that I always go to when I get stuck and need a walkthrough of where to go next in these games, so you can see what the mechanics are like, because I'm already in the late game of all 3 of these games. Okay, first one I played was Pokemon Gaia. This was really highly recommended by a lot of the fan-made community, and this is a typical Pokemon game, but what really separates it is that rather than a forgettable story that you normally get where you just go to each gym and then you move on to the Elite Four and you beat, the bad guys who are Team Rocket or whatever and become the Pokemon champion, this one has way more attention to detail, and it centers around the Reggie Pokemon and a very powerful kind of weapon that, is meant to destroy the world, of course. You're still like the chosen character who's trying to save the world, but this time the villains are more interesting and they're not so one-dimensional like you see in Team Aqua or Team Magma or Team Rocket. You get to explore a completely different region with whole new areas and places to see, so it feels like a brand new game, but still a very familiar adventure since all the mechanics from the old games are exactly the same. In a lot of these fan games, they can introduce different mechanics, fake Pokemon, different things to spice up the games. Overall, the best aspects of this game is that it feels like a real Pokemon game, not something fan-made. This definitely is something that I could see Game Freak releasing if they had a little bit more balls and didn't play it safe and to the formula every time. But this is just a really welcome, different fan game that's been created. This game has a really wide variety of Pokemon from different generations, and the game really rewards exploration. Something that I think is really missing from the more recent Pokemon games is that aspect of exploration where you can just go down a rabbit hole and go follow a path that looks like it leads nowhere, and then you'll get an item at the end of it. So if you hop into this world, don't forget to explore every corner that you can, because most of the time you're going to get something that's helpful and handy. The second one that I absolutely loved was Rocket Red. This once again has a very cohesive story, which I don't want to ruin, but where Gaia feels like a very polished game that Game Freak could have made, Rocket Red feels still very polished, but definitely different from something that Game Freak ever would have come up with. That might be because you're starting your Pokemon career as a Team Rocket member rather than as someone from Pallet Town. And in this game, you're doing grunt work and you're trying to climb the Team Rocket ladder and get to the very top ranks. The story does go to include characters that I think we all know and love, and Team Rocket's history as an organization, as well as how some of these characters in Team Rocket are actually intertwined. Other than an awesome story, it introduces another core mechanic, and that is stealing Pokemon. Since you're a Team Rocket member, you start with Rattata, probably one of the worst Pokemon ever, but with each Pokemon battle you win, you have the option of stealing your opponent's Pokemon, which is generally how you're going to end up building a really strong team. You destroy trainers left, right, and center, and then take their Pokemon. It never gets old, especially when the Pokemon you get aren't something that you have before or they're very high level. You don't have to be an absolute ass and steal a Pokemon from every single trainer that you come against. You do have the option of yes or no, you might or you might not, depending on whether or not you see something you like. And there is some morality elements involved in the game as well, but I'd say that they don't make too much of a difference. The current one that I'm still making my way through is Adventure Red. You follow as Red, the main character from Generation 1, but this time you're heading on an insanely long adventure. This is definitely the longest game of the 3 that I've played so far, and it feels like it goes on forever. At the start, you take on Kanto, which is just the region from Generation 1. Then once you're done, you end up going on to the next region, which is the Orange Archipelago, where the difficulty doesn't reset and it keeps climbing. At the moment, I've just finished Kanto. I'm currently in the Orange Archipelago and I haven't finished it yet. That's currently where development is up to right now, I believe as well. But there are plans to bring other regions like Gen 3's Hoenn from Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald into the mix. The game does change up typing and what is or isn't effective against different types, which is really, really weird, but it's all in an effort to balance the game. And I think they've done a moderately reasonable job at making some of the weaker elements better and some of those really top tier elements a little bit weaker. The best thing about this game is just its length and that it's meant to follow the manga. But I also like that once you finish the Kanto region and that's over, you head over to the Orange Archipelago and you kind of feel like Ash from the anime where you hop from different regions and try and be the best trainers from other regions, but the difficulty doesn't reset and it stays really, really high. Not to mention, I found this game has a ton of side missions, and that can keep you distracted for so long. It's a blast. There are some mixed reviews on this game online. Some people are saying that it had a great premise, but the developers have gone on a little tangent, and it's not as good as what it could have been, but I'm still having a great time with it. So that's it. These are the only 3 fan Pokemon games that I've played so far, but there are so many others out there. There are great ones like Rocket Red, which I think is probably my favorite Pokemon game ever, including the mainline Game Freak ones so far. But there are also so many weird ones out there. Like there's one which replaces Pokemon with Digimon, but the core mechanics are the same. There's also like One Piece iterations, and there's a whole bunch of weird stuff. I'll probably link an article down in the description for you guys to check out some different Pokemon games. A couple of last things that I found in these games, you really have to pay attention to dialogue. Most of the time, it's going to tell you what to do and what you need to do next, obviously. But since this isn't such a linear game, you might have to backtrack, and there's no map in some of these. So listening to the directions of north, east, south, or west of this city or whatever really, really helps you. Worst comes to worst, you can always go to a guide, like a YouTube channel I've used to overlay some gameplay footage in here. I'll also link them down in the description. I always go there when I get stuck or I haven't been paying attention. Another thing that you really need to be aware of is the difficulty in these games is really ramped up. You can't just overlevel your Pokemon and breeze through the whole thing because grinding isn't that effective and it's a little bit slow. Most of the time, your opponents are going to be very, very similar level to you, and the AI isn't that stupid in these. They know what's super effective against them and you, and if they're in a bad matchup, they can often switch out and bring out something that's more favorable. If you have the time, definitely grab an emulator like this to play these games on the go, or just grab one to use on your computer. You can even just run emulators on your mobile phone. These are a blast, and there are so many awesome fan games to be played. That's it. Go have fun. I'm out. Check out the description for additional links to that Pokemon player who just runs through fan-made games nonstop. I'll also have a link in the description for some highly rated Pokemon fan games, but you can also just Google this and go on Reddit. I think that you'll find Pokemon Guy and Rocket Red are really two that stand out. Other than that, like and subscribe. I'll see you later.